All right, ready to dive into something we all think about learning. How do we learn best? And what keeps us going, makes us actually want to learn something new?
Yeah, and the thing is, so much of it is not what we might expect. We've got some research here that, uh, well, it might make you rethink those late night cram sessions.
Oh, you have my attention. I'm always up for upping my study game. What have you got for me?
Okay, so picture this. You've got a bunch of students prepping for this big speech exam, right?
Okay, cut it.
You'd think they're all, really poring over their textbooks, right? Highlighters out, the whole deal.
Yeah, making sure they know everything.
But get this. Turns out most of them just skimmed the thing.
Skimmed. Huh. I mean, maybe we're all guilty of that sometimes, but I'm guessing there's a but coming here.
Oh, a big one. The ones who actually did better, they ditched the deep dive into the textbook and focused on the study guide instead. Some just even silently read their notes and aced it.
Whoa. Seriously, that's kind of backwards, isn't it? Less is more when it comes to studying.
Well, not quite less. Think of it as smarter, not harder. It all comes down to active engagement instead of just passively absorbing the information.
Okay, I can see that. So just skimming, that's passive. Your brain's not really doing much.
Exactly. But when you're like wrestling with those study guide questions or trying to remember stuff from your notes, that's active. It's forcing your brain to encode the information.
Encoding. So it's like, I guess, highlighting the important points, but it's your neurons doing it.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You're basically creating those neural pathways that make learning stick.
So it's not about how long we study, but how we spend that time. Like quality over quantity.
100%. And you know what? This actually connects to another fascinating thing we found about learning rates. Turns out, a lot of times we're all learning at basically the same pace when everything's working right.
Wait, really? Are you saying it doesn't matter if someone's considered a fast or slow learner?
It's more about the foundation you're building on. Think of it like building a house, right? You've already got a strong foundation. That's your prior knowledge.
Yeah.
So adding new floors and new information, it's going to be way easier than if you're starting from scratch.
Oh, that makes sense. So someone who's struggling, maybe they're not a slow learner, they just need a few more of those foundational building blocks to really get going.
Exactly. And honestly, that's huge because now we're not talking about limitations. We're talking about finding the right strategies to bridge those gaps.
This is really making me rethink how I approach all this,
And we haven't even gotten to the motivation part yet. That's what really keeps us going.
Oh, right, right. Because even if I've got all the best study tips, sometimes just opening a book feels impossible.
Absolutely. We've all been there. You know what's interesting? Motivation isn't just this like abstract thing. It's really connected to how we see ourselves and our goals too.
Okay, now you've got me curious. Tell me more.
All right. So there's this one study and they were looking at students in, get this, a public speaking class.
Public speaking. Oh, man, talk about something that gets your heart racing.
Right. And they found that the students who were super motivated, they totally aced the actual speech, but then on the written exam, totally average.
Really? So all those nerves, all that energy, it helped them on stage, but not so much on paper.
That's what it seems like. And it kind of shows how motivation can be different depending on the situation. For some people, that thrill of performing, getting immediate feedback, that's way more motivating than just a test.
So it's not enough to just be motivated in general. You have to be motivated by the thing, by the task, or even how they decide you did a good job.
Exactly. And this kind of goes with this idea of like control and autonomy. Research shows that when we feel like we have a choice, like we're in the driver's seat, we stay motivated even if things get tougher.
Hold on. So you're saying, like, if I choose a harder path, but it was my choice, I'll probably stick with it.
Exactly. Remember that study we talked about? People choosing that trickier puzzle just because they got to pick it. It's about feeling like you're calling the shots.
Yeah.
Even if it gets a little rough.
I can see that. So what about those times when you're just not feeling motivated at all? What then? Got any tips?
Well, that's where another piece of this comes in. Curiosity.
Oh, curiosity, right. Like that drive to explore, that spark that makes you want to learn.
Yeah. And the best part is curiosity isn't just about learning new stuff. It can actually help us avoid burnout.
Wait, seriously, curiosity is like a superpower that keeps us from getting overwhelmed.
That's what it's looking like. Studies have actually shown that students who said they were more curious, they felt less emotionally drained, even when they were learning really challenging things.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's like if we can tap into that sense of wonder, of wanting to learn, it's not just like making it more fun, it's making us stronger too.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
It's about changing how we think about learning. Instead of seeing it as a chore, we can see it as an adventure. And our curiosity is what fuels that adventure.
You know, it's funny. We always talk about learning like it's, I don't know, something you're just born with or without. But what I'm hearing is it's not that simple. It's not set in stone.
Right. That's what's so cool about it. It's not about finding some learning gene. We all have these tools, and it's about using them in a way that works for you.
So, okay, say someone's listening to us right now and they're like, all right, I'm sold. I'm ready to shake things up. Where do they even start?
It might sound simple, but the first thing is to really embrace this idea of active learning. Don't just sit back and let the information wash over you. Really engage with it.
I like that. Engage. It's like, instead of listening to a lecture, you're having this back and forth conversation.
Exactly. And there are so many ways to do that. Teach it to someone else. Think of real-world examples that click for you. Heck, even just stop and ask yourself questions about what you're learning.
It's all about making those connections, right? Like building bridges in your brain between the new stuff and what you already know.
That's it. And don't be afraid to try different things. Some
Sure.
people learn best by writing things out, others by listening. Some people, they got to be moving around while they're studying.
We're all a little different like that, and that's a good thing. It's about figuring out what works for you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think maybe the biggest takeaway here, the thing we should all remember, is the power of curiosity. Ask yourself, what really gets you excited? What are those questions you just can't stop thinking about?
It's like having a treasure map, right? Those areas you're naturally drawn to, that's where learning becomes effortless, even fun.
100%. Tap into that. Because when you're truly curious, you're not just memorizing facts, you're on a mission to learn. And honestly, I can't think of anything more motivating than that.
So to sum it all up, it's not about some ability you either have or you don't. It's about being engaged, putting in the effort in a way that makes sense, and most importantly, keeping that curiosity alive.
And if you take away just one thing from our little deep dive here, I hope it's this. We talked about how we can all learn at pretty much the same pace if we've got the right foundation.
Yeah.
So what could those missing pieces be for you? And how can you find them?
Ooh, now that's a question I'm going to be thinking about for a while. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of learning and motivation. And until next time, stay curious out there.